We're talking actual football on the field these days. Isn't it finally a good thing? Miami Hurricanes live for an 80th time. Yes, you see the U sign. The Wholesome One is here in the house to deliver on Miami football content analysis and answer your questions and comments, debate topics. And I am here as well. Wholesome One, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Mark. I mean, we recently got a commitment from a player that's been in the works for a little while in Chase Smith. We also have had a recent scrimmage where our freshmen, our defensive end presence, and even the run game all impressed. And that's something we're going to talk about today, and I'm always excited to talk about those Canes.
Before we get rolling, I want to remind everyone that you hit the like button if you appreciate what we do and what the Wholesome One brings here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. We also remind you to subscribe. That way you hit the bell for the notifications, know when we're going live. If you haven't noticed, we go live when we possibly can. So we've got a number of schedules to coordinate. It's not always the best schedule, but it's the schedule we provide you, and it's the best content. That's the important thing. So you don't necessarily know because of, again, the schedules, personal schedules of everyone when we're going live. But we do it for you, and we're here. And so you got to subscribe to our channel. Head on over to the Wholesome One. You'll see his name on the bottom of the screen throughout the show. HOLSUM and the number one, Wholesome One Holloway on YouTube, and subscribe to his channel as well. And again, like button, smash it, get it done, and then lock it in right here. Let's get to the second scrimmage last Sunday, Wholesome One. So we talked a couple days prior to wrapping up that first scrimmage, and you laid it down for us there. Your thoughts and stats and analysis of the second time on the field knocking heads.
Well, for the first time, the offense was challenged a lot more than what they've normally been challenged. So a lot of our first-team players were not in that first scrimmage, or if they were, they only played a couple of snaps. So this was an opportunity for almost a full go. At that point, we were a little under 2 weeks and a half away from our first opening game against UAB, which is no gimme by any means necessary. I mean, a team losing to FIU and La Tech should never view a team as a gimme. I don't care if we play FIU again. Okay, let's get that understood, number one. But moving forward, I mean, ERIQ King was a QB who jumped out the first scrimmage. And even then, it was a step back. And by the terms of Coach Manny Diaz, it was average, but it was anything but that for the players who had to go against him. I mean, even first-team inside linebacker Zach McLeod talked about how dynamic ERIQ King is, even when his passing was a little off that day. Only having 95 yards passing, but he still had 2 touchdowns. And the good part, Mark, you don't know who was going against whom, but it's perceived to be a lot more first team versus first team, second team versus second team, because you had guys like Xavier Restrepo and Keyshawn Smith start to make plays. Those freshmen who were a part of this class of 2020, who have been turning heads, who have come in and been great route runners and leading the freshmen, and even moving up from freshman squad to third team and now second team, and even some getting first team reps. So therefore, they're putting in the work, they're putting in the effort, and are pushing the young men who have been on our roster previously. And that's what you want from these freshmen. I talk a lot about when freshmen come in, you want them to be able to spark. You want us to know why we gave you that scholarship. You want us to be able to see how you validated that 3, 4, and even sometimes 5-star rating, and how Xavier Restrepo has been playing up until this point. He's way higher than the 3-star. And how Keyshawn Smith has been making plays, it makes us super excited that we got him from way out west. He was able to get out of his letter with Washington State, come down to the U, and show that he can play, and he can move, and he's put on some really, really good weight. But for people who want to do stats, let's go down the line. So ERIQ King, 95 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. All 4 QBs at least had 1 passing touchdown. Cam Harris had 13 carries for 77 yards and a touchdown, 2 receiving touchdowns. So he's showing how dynamic he is, catching the ball out of the backfield. One of those catches was a wheel route. He shakes my boy Bubba Bolden, and then he's getting tackled by second-year defensive tackle Harrison Hunt, but Cam puts the ball over the line and gets the touchdown. That was a nice one to get on there. Brevin Jordan makes his return. One of those guys who did not play much in the first scrimmage, comes with 4 catches. You also have Keyshawn Smith, 3 catches for 53 yards. One of them was a beautiful kind of back shoulder where he was able to turn around and catch the ball falling down from N'Kosi Perry. It was a nice deep route, and Keyshawn Smith, man. First of all, shout out to Cam Underwood, because Cam was the one that put his name out there a lot on here and on Twitter, and this young man is proving him right at every chance he can get. Larry Hodges, true sophomore, redshirt freshman tight end. We were able to get a red shirt on him last year. He was starting at fullback for us last year, was able to get that red shirt, and now is making some plays as the third tight end. He had 45 yards receiving. Defensively, Quincy Roche and Jalen Phillips, just disruptive. Whether it's in the run game, whether it's pass rushing, whether it's just squatting down passes, whether it's one-on-ones going into the scrimmage, inside run, just disruptive presence from both players coming off of the edge. Javari Harvey, defensive end, running the third defensive right now, had 6 tackles. Corey Flagg Jr. had a fumble recovery, so he would have had the turnover chain given to him. Brian Balaam, a big safety, 6'1", 6'2", almost 200 pounds, maybe even over 200 at this point. Safety, true freshman, had 7 tackles, an interception, and a forced fumble. So yet again, Mark, when I'm talking about freshmen flashing, man, you get that opportunity, you get that orange and green on, whether it's at the Hard Rock Stadium, whether it's on Green Tree Practice Field, whether it's in the Carroll Sulphur, you got to show up. And a lot of these freshmen have been sparking. To Corey Couch with an interception in that scrimmage. And Xavier Restrepo, 5 receptions for 79 yards and a touchdown.
Got the wholesome one right here talking Miami football. Yes, it's a different time practically each and every week. That means you need to lock it in with a subscription, hit the bell for the notification. So you got, let's see if I get this right, wholesome one. We got our live squad, hashtag live squad. Got our hashtag rewatch squad. So you know what? Even if you're part of the live squad, got a lot of people who jump in. Most of our folks jump in a little bit late. You miss 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. So you got to be part of the live squad and the rewatch squad to get it done and to catch the analysis you missed. And then, of course, you got the notification squad, and that covers subscribing, notifications. You're locked in, you're ready to go. Otherwise, you get comments like this sometimes. Ohio State 8 AP polled natties. What an avatar and a handle name that is. But where's Mark? Hope you didn't get drunk and oversleep. So, man, this is the one time. So if truth be known, we are totally transparent here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. If you were going to get the wholesome one and I together this week, this was the one time. This is the only time we could figure out. And both of us are running on fumes. Now, it's not going to seem like that.
Right.
It seemed like I went to bed at 6:30 this morning after working all night and being up all day and slept for 3.5 hours. Then I got up to do this. But maybe it will seem like that. I don't know. That's what does most of the work, and he's running on fumes as well. But we are committed to bringing some Miami football content. So anybody that talks about us being late or anything like that, or squeezing in at a time that they didn't like, that's why you get the rewatch squad. And that's also why you need to understand that you need to contribute and support both at my channel and over at the Wholesome One. And hey, we fit it in when we can, and it's always quality with this guy. No question about that. So we got the second scrimmage in. You know, the one thing I'll ask you based on all that information and analysis, and I know this is a tough one to tackle, but for just Joe football fan to look at a stat sheet and try to figure out what really happens, difficult to do. Again, there are so many different situations and reasons why things happened and show up on a stat sheet. You know, the quarterback can throw 3 on the money, they get dropped, or, you know, he's running for his life, or all those things and throwing it away. And it's an 0-for-3 series for him, so forth and so on. We could go on down the line. You take somebody like myself, I got the Miami knowledge that I have based on watching all the key games all season. But then when it comes to you, that's doctorate level Miami knowledge. And then you start to put the pieces together, and you didn't get to see a whole lot. You saw a little video leaked and shot from practice, just a little bit from the scrimmage. But you start to put together, okay, based on what you know of the situations, then you look at the stats and say, well, that's probably what's going on there. And maybe that doesn't look too good on a stat sheet, but I'm not too concerned about that. Or any of those nuances there from based on what you know of the personnel, the schemes put together with the stats that you're thinking, okay, I really like that. This here we need to improve on?
Mark, it's a good question. What I look at when I look at these stats is, number one, there was an automatic understanding that there had to be 1 versus 1. Because, I mean, the whole talk of the first scrimmage was the offense. And some people were down on the defense. And, the defense must be bad this year. And they're, talking down on our defensive coordinator, Blake Baker, and not understanding that a lot of these scrimmages rarely ever have 1 versus 1s. Then later on that week, it comes out that your top 3 defensive tackles all played less than 10 snaps. Nestor Silvera, John Ford, and Jaleel Holly all either didn't play or played under 10 snaps. So therefore, there was a reason why the run game, because you had Jalen Knighton and Donald Chaney Jr., who went crazy, almost 20 yards rushing from just those 2 alone. And who knows if they were running first or second team. And with the University of Miami being a private institution, in the way that a lot of our coaches answer questions, they rarely ever, and even from how the press asks questions at Miami, you rarely get them to just say, Coach, what happened here and how did we get this? And then the coach turns around and says, well, this is how we got this because we went against this guy who's a third string. You'll never get that. And that's not only at the U, that's just period. You rarely have those type of question and answers just get dropped like that. But I mean, either way, it makes you excited when you hear about the run game at Miami doing well. I mean, since Mark Walton back in 2017, we haven't had an 1,000-yard rusher. Now, Travis Homer's been very close, but we haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher in almost 4 years. Okay. And then not only that, De'Aaron King's dynamic ability. When you talk about a QB who can run and can pass, it's not necessarily you're going to get that he had this many carries for this many yards. They're basically just going to talk about what he did passing. So we were able to just decipher a little bit from the 1 minute and 30-second snippets that we do get, which is exciting sometimes, in the highlight tapes. And then you also get to see some of those numbers of where those big plays came against. You start seeing corners with number 40 on. That probably isn't the first team defense out there. You start to see some of those guys with a little bit slender body, younger bodies on the offensive line. You understand that defense wasn't going against the first team offensive line. So some of these numbers, a little hard to decipher from, but either way, it's just exciting to see some of these guys flash. It's good to see some of these people show up. There was a Mark Pope sighting for everybody who, is hard on Mark Pope. He made a really nice play deep across the middle, but his stats didn't pop up on the stat sheet. So, you never know how some of these coaches are doing things. Are they hiding some things away? Because there is this guy that's going crazy, but we don't want that to be known just yet until we go to the football field in Miami Gardens. Or in some instances, there are some people that they're just genuinely haven't hit that spark yet because they're in-game players. They're not practice or scrimmage All-Americans who history will only be in the halls of the Carroll Sofa. So there's a way that you can go about it. You can decipher between the two. But either way, you want to start to see people showing up and at least showing us something. Because, I mean, we're about, 14 days away here, Mark? Less than. And we want to start hearing from some of these guys because UAB is going to come to not upset Miami, beat Miami. And they genuinely feel like they can do it. And some people in this fan base definitely feel like they can. And I'm one of those that if we do not show up, it won't be a good game for the Canes. And all the undefeated talk is going to be out the window if we can't beat UAB. But I think Coach Manny Diaz, this staff, and the leadership that we have is going to be able to focus these young men up, man, because you got a leader like ERIQ King who's been through some things, recently lost his father, red shirt senior. I remember the last time we had a fifth-year guy at the helm of a team, because a lot of our guys leave in 3 years, whether that's red shirt sophomore or true juniors. So I don't know the last time we've had somebody that experienced as the head coach, as the leader of our squad. And even if you talk about on the defensive side of the ball, red shirt senior inside linebacker, I don't know the last time we had something like that either. So either way, we got some guys that's going to be focused and turning heads here. And I'm excited to see what we can do.
And again, Miami fans looking past UAB, keep into consideration FIU last year, Georgia Tech, and the Central Michigan game, which was a 5-point win. Also keep into consideration, I know, Wholesome One, that you're focused on your team getting the job done week one, getting out there on a Thursday night, showing something against a quality group of 5 team. But it was kind of amusing when you mentioned some of the letdowns last year that here the other night talking Florida State. A lot of the Seminole fans, I don't know where they can stand on this, but they're already chalking up Georgia Tech as a win in week one. And I was like, whoa, hey. I don't know.
We did too. You saw what happened when they came to Dade County.
Yeah, exactly.
They
got scholarship athletes.
And that's what I try to get people to understand. And Mark, I'm not some elite coach either, but at the same time, when you study the game of football, you understand that at the end of upsets are going to happen. We talked about this for almost 30 minutes last time. Upsets are going to happen when you have quality athletes, especially from a certain area in Atlanta, Georgia. And if you have a quality coaching staff that's going to show up with X's and O's and put their players in position, they're going to make plays. And if you're playing around, you may have the better team, statistics or paper-wise, but if you're not showing up and focused and ready to make plays when they matter, you turn around and you get what happened with us last year.
Just going to make an example of last season's top 10 teams in the nation. I'm going to do this real quick for anybody out there. And this is, I'm going to shoot a video in response to some of the comments that have been made about my predictions. Georgia beat 5 teams. They were at one point ranked in the top 10 last year. Who's the team they lost to? 4-8 South Carolina. Oregon beat 2 top 10 teams. The only 2 top 10 teams that they faced, they beat them. Who they lose to? 5-loss Arizona State. Oklahoma beat Baylor twice. Texas, when they were ranked. Oklahoma State, 4 ranked teams. Who they lose to? Kansas State, who was a 5-loss team. Wisconsin beat repeated top 10 teams. Who they lose to? 7-loss Illinois. Those are 4 of the top 10 teams in the nation. The games that they lost were the games against the teams that they weren't supposed to lose to, and they beat a bunch of really good teams. All right, Kane999, we appreciate the super sticker so much. Thank you so much. And if anybody knows, do you have any idea, Wholesome One, the avatar, the profile picture for Kane999? Do you know who that is? This is going way, way back. That is Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy, cartoons from the 70s right there. There you go. An old guy like me would know that one. They're Hong Kong Phooey, one of my faves. There you go. Kane999, appreciate the super sticker and the super chat contribution right there. Before we get to Chase Smith, just so I can advance the live chat, Wholesome One, want to get to some of these comments and questions, because if I get to one, then I get stuck on it if we're talking forever. And so let's move on to this one. Cornerback Isaiah Dunson, 4-star signee from 2020 class, working at the striker position. Jalen West asking about your thoughts there.
I think we got a really nice 2 deep there. I wouldn't be opposed to it, theoretically speaking. But when we start having those type of conversations, I think it's mainly because we think this guy must just be an athlete and it's kind of a nickel. It's really not. We've had guys upwards of looking very Coral Gables. We've had guys way upwards of 200 pounds, even be deemed too light to play in there. And I mean, you got Gilbert Frierson, who's pushing about 210 right now. You also have Keontre Smith, who's about 212. Okay, and then you have Isaiah Dunson, who's 184 pounds. Like, I get it. He's 6'1.5", 6'2". So theoretically, we're speaking, you could just throw him in there, and he's a good striker because he's tall and long, right? No. Like I said, I think that's kind of some fantasy booking, because at the end of the day, the striker is basically a strong side linebacker that can extremely cover. Compared, for a linebacker, you're a lot better in coverage than your normal linebacker, but you're bigger and stronger than our normal safeties. That's basically the definition of striker. And just because you got somebody that's 6'1.5", who's 184 pounds, who's used to playing wide receiver and corner, nah, probably not. You may not want him in that striker position. because what's going to happen is, some 245-pound tight ends. There's some teams that do have fullbacks, 260-pound fullbacks coming out there, and you barely pushing 190. That'll be pretty tough for you to be able to pull up and spill it back inside to the rest of the defense, which is what Romeo Finley did a lot of last year. He was able to run out and take the pulling guard, or take the tight end, or take the H-back, and hopefully it spilled back inside to Quarterman and Pinkney, and whether they decide to tackle that day. So, what's up, Davion? Hashtag Live Squad. Always good to see the hashtag Live Squad in the house.
Simmer Down says 8-3 in the live chat. It gives me an idea that I think I'll head on over to Twitter as soon as we get done here, run a poll. We'll give you the various record options. Of course, we've only got 12 days to football on the field versus UAB, so we can start making those predictions. And I'll leave it up to you, all of you, to get some pulse on what people are thinking about what the record could turn out to be for the Canes with 10 ACC games plus UAB. All right. Chase Smith, 14th rated athlete according to the 247 Sports Composite, 37th rated player in Florida, top 260 player in the nation, and he has made his choice to play for Miami. Your thoughts about Mr. Chase Smith?
Absolutely, Mark. Can you give me his measurables one more time?
We're looking at 6'3", 190.
Coming out of high school, and he's coming here. And if you turn on the film, the first thing I definitely listen. I look at myself, and a lot of people here really have me like as a recruiting aficionado. I didn't know anything about Chase Smith till about a month ago. But the minute I turned on the film, I'm like, we're recruiting him to play what? This dude is out here running routes and catching bombs and shaking people and stiff-arming guys, and it's rarely any plays of him on defense. And so I'm like, am I looking at the right player here? And it's funny how we were talking about the position because he's getting recruited here to come and play striker. Now, I'm not going to sit here and take shots at Isaiah Dunson. That doesn't make any sense. But you see how he's already bigger and weighs more than him coming in, going into his senior year. You get what I'm saying? Coming here to play the striker position for the University of Miami. I mean, he's a legacy player. His dad played here in the 80s. I believe he might be a junior, or maybe I'm getting his father's name mixed up. But either way, his father did play at the University of Miami and was on a national championship team back in the heyday. Back when Mark was pulling his hair out wondering who this squad is that's running all up and down the field on the corn-fed Cornhuskers of Nebraska. Anyway, Chase Smith is super athletic, man. And that's a thing that you talk about. You're bringing in James Williams. You're bringing in Cam Kinchins. And you're bringing in Chase Smith as you're free, as you're strong, and as your striker. That's all big-time upgrades over some of the guys we even have on the roster right now at those three depth chart positions and athleticism. And a lot of coaches look at high school football players as give me a ball of clay. Defensive line coaches would love for you to already come in at 6'5" or 6'4" plus in most situations. 260, 250, and they can move from there and mold and shape you into whatever you're going to be moving forward. If they could have it their way. You look at a guy who's 6'3", probably 6'2", 6'2 and a half, 190 pounds. He's going to walk into Miami 9 times out of 10 pushing 200. And once he gets here, they're going to put a little bit more weight on him because at that striker, you need to be, light enough to be able to cover, but strong enough to be in the run game. So he's going to put on a natural 5 to 10 to 12 pounds. Okay. So either way, as a redshirt freshman or maybe even a true sophomore, you got Chase Smith 210, 6'3", 210, ready to roll. And hopefully he isn't a big time he can play. But hopefully he's not a huge big-time contributor because then maybe we've dropped off at the other two striker positions. So that means he gets another year in the system, in nutrition, and strength and conditioning. But, man, you dynamic player, okay? And I talked about this on my cornerback preview breakdown. Y'all go ahead and check that out last night. What you would love to see out of defensive backs when you're recruiting them is when you turn on that high school film, that they have some wide receiver in their history. Why? Because that means they have ball skills, Mark. That means when that ball is in the air, they're not scared and they got to swat it down all the time. They can attack that ball at its highest point because they understand, hey, I've done this before. When that ball's in the air, it's just as open as mine as it is yours. Who wants it more? Who's going to attack this football at its highest point? Who's going to bring it down? Who's going to be able to locate it in the lights in the air and be able to attack the football? And that's something that Chase Smith has been doing his time in high school, and I don't think it's going to change when he gets here to college. So, man, excited to be able to bring in this type of player. It's been rumored for weeks, and I'm not going to say he was a signing or anything like that because I don't know any of that. But I do know that it's been rumored, and it's been in the works for a while, and we were able to get him to solidify it and go ahead and open commit and publicly commit to University of Miami, man. And recruiting has always been exciting. Especially when you talk Miami, it's like a big-time name that's something, you know, because it's usually a big-time player in the area. And as of late, over the last 2 months, Miami has been rolling in recruiting. But as you said, Mark, in 12 days, all this hype is either going to go up high or fall all the way out the bottom of it when these young men and this coaching staff runs out of the smoke at Hard Rock Stadium. So we get a chance to solidify all the hype. We get a chance to really put it through and show why all of this has been coming and all the hype and all the Palmetto 5 and the Sinister 6 at Miami Northwestern and all that. We're going to get a chance to really see it if we can handle all of this hype as a program on September 10th.
What I like about when we've got to hit an unusual day and time here with a wholesome one talking Miami football is some different people jump in that we may not know about because they don't comment, but they're watching on the Rewatch Squad on a regular basis. We got Canes fan 352 along with Miami BJ. Both are saying that hey, they're committed to the rewatch. They get in on the record, but they got the chance to hit us for the live show today, so that's good to see. We've got Bradley. Bradley's on the line, concerned about the quarterback's depth once we get past De'Aaron King, N'Kosi Perry coming back next year, but that quarterback need for each recruiting class and who's it going to be for 2021, 2022? Any names out there?
In recruiting?
Yeah.
I think I got to be careful with this, Mark, because then the hashtag Jake Garcia to the U people come out of nowhere, you know. That's something that's been heated. It's cooled off. It's heated up again. It's cooled off. And another thing that people don't always bring up is this is what we are, as the fans, are talking about. What about what's going on with this staff? You know, all of that doesn't always get out as far as who they're recruiting, who's that player, you know, that's around the corner that they don't want to announce just yet because they're a lowly 3-star who can come in and work this system to a high level if they take a red shirt and only, you know, play as a third-year guy who they're keeping behind the wall over there in the corner. To answer the question validly, I think Jake Garcia is the guy that they want in this class. Some of the other players that we were going after committed to other institutions. You know, I believe we were going after the young man last name McLaughlin or McLaughlin, one of those two. And he ended up going to Auburn. I think he was NC State and then switched it to Auburn. So that was the other guy that there was a lot of momentum behind. But Jake Garcia coming to Georgia. Jake Garcia, you know, being a lot closer, especially being from way out there in the West Coast, we'll have a chance to be able to get a little bit more in on his recruiting. So I think that's the guy that they want to bring in this class. And regardless, behind N'Kosi Perry and De'Aaron King, there's going to be a battle with Tyler Van Dyke, with Peyton Matoka behind those two. I mean, I would say that we're probably going to lose De'Aaron King, but you never know. I mean, this year doesn't charge to anyone's eligibility. That's something we were going to talk about last week, but there was no evidence behind it. So you never know. You may have De'Aaron King running out of the smoke for the Canes against Bama next year. So, hey, I would take that. I would definitely take that. I would take that. So we'll see.
Wholesome one, I not only monitor the live chat, not only read it, not only am listening, but hey, if people give me direction, we got the judge down here. Yo, Mark, can you slide that Seminole mini helmet a little more to the right? Always trying to be relevant. Get them out of there. They're gone. Judge, you ask, I deliver. There you go. It's off the shelf entirely. Gone. All right, Brett, every game a must win. Jalen West asking, let's stay on the quarterback beat because he's asking about Van Dyke's athleticism based on what you've seen on tape. We got it. Uh-oh.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh.
You know,
we got an inside joke working there?
Here's my thing, Mark. I laugh a lot because I watch the interviews for our players and coaches. And for people who are subbed over there on my channel, I always laugh at some of these questions that just pop up out of nowhere. You know, we got ERIQ King, we got Cam Harris, we got Xavier Restrepo after a scrimmage. And there's a question about Tyler Van Dyke's athleticism. Mark, I don't know. He ran an under center offense that was like super 80s ball. He's deadly accurate. He's a leader, but I can't answer. I don't want to disrespect Tyler Van Dyke and what he can or can't do because I honestly do not know. He, from what I've seen, isn't the guy doing the read options and, you know, doing a triple option up and down the field for the Miami Hurricanes. So he's Division I QB who's going to throw the football for the Canes.
I set off a spree of references to Cartoon Network and all sorts of stuff when I mentioned Hong Kong Phooey. So we got Eddie with Captain Caveman and 904 Hurricane, Grape Ape, all sorts of stuff there. All right. I think we'll get past that. We'll get back to football. And Wholesome One, I don't know if you're up to it. If you've got the time, we'll try to figure it out sometime between now and UAB. But maybe we can get together, do a little UAB preview, lock in on the Blazers. I'll even do a little research on the Blazers and see what I can come up with.
Absolutely. How about we schedule that for our next live?
There we go. We'll
do that, and then we'll drop my official scrimmage schedule prediction next week.
Okay. We'll match it up against mine.
Oh, I'm excited for that. Let's do it.
We'll do that. All right. Talking Miami football here, of course, but also full-time, all the time, nonstop over at the Wholesome Ones channel, HOLSUM and the number 1, Talking Miami. So I know I cluttered this up with Florida, Florida State, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Auburn, Alabama. All those teams get in the way of your Miami look here. But lock it in here. We provide Miami on a regular basis. But, man, if you want nonstop, wall-to-wall, the Wholesome One, of course, as well. So check him out, HOLSUM and the number 1. And, of course, Chase Smith is the big news, just committing in the last few days. Good stuff there. Another 4-star in the house, in camp, as long as he follows through in the commitment. And as the Wholesome One and I have talked about, you never count those until the signatures on the dotted line and the fact made.
And, you know, for me, it's even worse, Mark. Like, I'm only counting it until I see you run out of the smoke at the Hard Rock Stadium, man.
Got to qualify. Sure.
That's me. Because, you know, you got people academic, and I'm not saying that I know about people who is academically ineligible or not. Because, I mean, it happens. When you look at Avery Huff and Cam Williams just past season, and it happens, especially with all this transferring that happens in the state of Florida now, because you don't have to have proof of an address anymore. You know, you can live in Hialeah and go to Miami Northwestern. You can live at Miami Northwestern and go to Miramar, which is in Broward. So, I mean, they just go to whatever high school you want to be able to enroll in, and they have enough space for you. So, you never know what's going to happen there. But, Mark, I do have a question for you, because I think I've had this conversation with people, but I haven't had it with you. What's your view on having like older, experienced teams? You know, because I think there's a super overrated stat of like returning starters as opposed to returning snap count or experience, or this guy, we're losing a guy who started for 3 years, but he's getting replaced by a guy who's 4 inches taller and is a 5-star recruit. So what's your view on that? Going back and forth on that view.
I think that stat has become antiquated because of style of play changes in football. So if you go back to the 70s, I started watching football around 77, 78. You go into the 80s. You look at that starting lineup was a starting lineup. Man, you didn't see a wide receiver run a post pattern, catch a ball or not catch a ball, but because he sprinted 25 or 30 yards, he was running to the sideline and somebody else was running in. He was the starting wide receiver. He's back for the next play. You didn't see guys running in and out. You got your starting 11, unless somebody got hurt or unless there's a battle for a position in the first few weeks of the season, those dudes were on the field. That was your starting 11. You didn't see all these multi-packages with the nickel and the dime and that so forth. Well, it didn't take long into the 80s before you started to see that, but that was strictly a third down mentality, or maybe you bring it down your third down back in that takes the place of your blocking fullback or something like that. But because of that, yeah, you look at a starting 11 that gets announced and you see it on the screen to start any football game now, and you take it with a grain of salt. You got to know what the deal is, because that's not necessarily, you've got guys playing 40 and 50 plays that didn't start. So yeah, the returning starters statistic is way overblown and overrated at this point. Sure, is it a starting point to say, man, if somebody's bringing back 19 starters, that's probably a good foundation, because that probably means a lot. But most of the numbers you see are in that 10 to 13 range. If you look at returning starters for that 22 for most teams across the country, because I see that stat almost every day when I'm doing research, man, you got to put that into context. Versus a snap count would be great. There are so many stats I would love to change in football, or at least add an additional stat. Quarterback interceptions, I would love to see that evaluated from interception to interception. Give a different context to Hail Marys and deflected balls, things that weren't their fault, all that sort of thing, or could be interceptions. Guys that threw it right to the other team, they just dropped it. Because you're trying to evaluate with statistics, not just what happened on the field. So the stats are a measurement of what actually happened on the field. But the second level of that is evaluating the player ability and what should have happened or what could have happened on the field as well. That's why I love a lot of these advanced metrics. But the returning starter stat, still a good starting place, but not anywhere close to the relevant stat that it was 25, 30 years ago.
And I think, we went kind of nationwide with it. I know it's a Miami Live, but we went a little nationwide with that view, because my whole thing is there's always that conversation of people not wanting to evolve or modernize, because you got the old school people. I played every single snap, all 10 games, never took a down, no water. What is this guy's running in and off the field and rotating? When I know Chip Kelly must feel like everybody's stolen his swag, and they ever gave it back to him or like hyped him up as to in the early 2010s, and I think late 2009-ish is when he took the job, right? At Oregon.
Yes.
This offense was viewed as gimmicky, and it'll never win. What is this? And when they were on that stage versus Auburn, it didn't get a chance to get over the top. Even though I love Cam Newton, so I was happy that he got that win. But it would have been nice. The different trajectory of college football if Oregon would have won, because they always got that slight early on because of that offense and the lack of view about their defense and not caring about their defense and just going out there and running this up tempo. And the defense had to do like double or triple conditioning because they were always going to be on the field, regardless. So it's just funny. It's something I thought about before, and I'm like, this status can be a little misleading, because you may not have been a starter last year. So let's take, for example, let's bring it home to the University of Miami and the Miami Hurricanes. Trajan Bandy was slighted as a starter. Okay, but DJ Ivy's snap count ended up being higher, if not equal to Trajan Bandy by the end of the season. Now, whether that's due to play or whether that's due to scheme, either way, he's listed as a non-starter because Trajan Bandy started the first game of the season versus the hated Florida Gators. But he's a young man with either equal snap count or more snap count from second half of the season on. So that's just something I thought about when I was making this stat and just talking about it for my cornerback preview. And I just wanted to get your viewpoint on it.
A lot of good comments coming in. We appreciate everybody on the line. Can't say hi back to everyone, but definitely appreciate all the highs, hellos, and great shows out there. It's a great encouragement to all of us. I'm looking at comments from Matrix, Survivor. Good to see you. Brett Varner and Cheryl, of course. Jordan Bowman, big Clemson fan, but always joins us for the live streams regardless of who we're talking about, man. And I always appreciate other fan bases coming in here. And if you want to talk trash, just keep it clean and keep it non-offensive and non-personal. But we love the trash talk and the live chat working right here. Got the Wholesome One. You got to check out his content. What are you working on here recently?
Oh, we're going. So we had something dropping every single day this week, Mark, whether it was a live early on or when I started because it didn't click in my head. Hey, we were 17 days away, and I had not done my position by position breakdown. So the last two breakdowns was the first video that everybody was excited to see and hear about was the linebackers. And then after that, last night was cornerbacks. And now tomorrow, the position that everybody either loves or has everything in the world to say about offensive line. I'll have a breakdown on them dropping tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So every other day, once the video drops, I give the people who are subscribed an opportunity to vote and a community post, and then we get that rolling. We get it recorded, we get it edited, and get it uploaded to you. So right now, you got cornerbacks. Last night, you got linebackers, and then tomorrow night, you have offensive line talk. So that's either going to bring my highest view video or my most disliked video. You know, people always have something to say about the O-line. You know, the years of you just line up and it's been the same guys for 2 or 3 seasons are kind of done across college football. You got new people coming in every year, and you got to be able to develop those young men and play a scheme that they feel comfortable in. So it's been exciting, man. Every Monday night, y'all know at 8 p.m. Prime time, we live and we talk about what happened last week. And this past 2 weeks have been the scrimmage. And coming up soon, we're going to be talking about what happened last week in the game. So Let's Talk Tuesdays is always where I bring out the whiteboard. I bring out my marker. And I also have basically a whole breakdown of the team that we're going to be going up against. So look out for that coming up this Tuesday? No, next Tuesday, because we play them on a Thursday. So UAB's breakdown will be not this upcoming Tuesday, the Tuesday afterward. We're going to be breaking them down on Let's Talk Tuesday. So make sure y'all there 8 p.m. on Monday and Tuesday nights for the H1H Wholesome Holloway channel, baby.
Smash the like button here, and when you watch the Wholesome One, do it on over there as well. Just take that 3 seconds. Smash the like button. Get these videos out on social media. There's people that follow you on Twitter, on Facebook, on other social media platforms that have no idea who we are, that we're here and ready to roll each and every week. So let them know by sharing the videos and talking about us and bringing them into the fold as well. Would love to get these live chat numbers cranked up higher and higher and higher and higher and higher as we get through the season. Wholesome One, I'm going to hit you with 3 stats courtesy Athlon after you address, and this is a nice little segue because you mentioned the offensive line. And again, you got to check out the Wholesome One's video breakdown of the offensive line that's coming up here very soon on his channel. But Sean Jones, of course, asking that question that's out there and has been for a few years. When's that offensive line going to get better?
That question has been out since like 2014, Mark. So, hey, listen, I do think the offensive line will be better. At the end of the day, I've gotten to the point where there's a lot that I can say to back them up, but there's even more that they can do to prove me right and prove themselves right. Bringing in a new offensive line coach, that's the 3rd offensive line coach in 3 years. I mean, you had Stacey Searles, 18, Butch Berry, 19, and Garrett Justice, 20. Yep. 3 different offensive line coaches in 3 different years. But for the first time, it's going to fit the scheme. It's going to fit the athletes geographically and where we recruit. And I think they're just going to be based on principle. They're going to be better. I mean, you talk about a position that's been not only disrespected and talked down to from our Miami Hurricanes fans. The worst listed offensive line in the state, and one of the worst listed offensive lines, according to ESPN, in the nation out of 130 teams. Okay, and we aren't the only ones saying those things. It's funny to me when people feel like these players aren't people and they don't do their own research and they don't hear and see all the slander. But at the end of the day, they have to go out there and prove themselves right. And I can say whatever I want about they're going to be the greatest O-line ever. They have to go out there and make those plays, man. And I think that they're going to, based solely on getting the ball out quick, having a red shirt senior QB, having a dynamic running back stable that we do. Yeah, I think that they're just going to look so much better this year.
Comments all over the place in the live chat concerning Nebraska protesting, Ohio State protesting, the Big Ten's in some serious hot water because they didn't just make an announcement a couple of weeks ago and have everybody say, we wish we would have played football. We're disappointed. Bye. We'll see you in the spring. Man, they are beating down the doors, and the parents and the players are organizing and getting lawyers, and they're hard after it here. So we will see how that transpires. So we're looking at 3 conferences playing, but who knows? Maybe the Big Ten players, coaches, and fans and parents will win this battle with the Big Ten office and get to play, because they have really organized and they are coming after it. So a lot of talk about that. And if you want to catch us on our most recent discussion about that, we're coming back at 1 o'clock Eastern time with Ohio State Football Talk live. All right. This is what I'm going to hit you with. So this plays right into what you just talked about with the offensive line, but just to back that up, you don't really need to comment because you went through the offensive line. Miami surrendered just under 4 sacks per game, 3.92 last year. That was the 127th ranked, meaning only 4 teams were worse. Only one in the ACC, and that was Syracuse by just a smidge in sacks given up per game. Next stat deals with Greg Russo, so that's pretty much out the window. 72.2%. Miami scored 29 touchdowns and converted 10 field goal attempts and 54 red zone trips last season. 72%. That was number 13 in the ACC, number 122 in the country, worst among teams with more than 40 trips inside their opponent's 20-yard line. It's not getting it done in the red zone by the offense, first and foremost, and then if the offense falters, not making the field goals.
Well, we have Jose Borregales, transfer from FIU, who almost single-handedly is the reason why we lost that game last year, who was 50 of 66 in his career at FIU, and is the leading scorer with 281 points scored at FIU in our own city. So hopefully, that's a transfer. And then you also have a top 5 kicker and his younger brother who's committed that comes in next year. And then, like again, this year doesn't count towards anybody's eligibility. So Jose Borregales may come back again to be able to play 1 year with his brother. So who knows? My other thing with that is if this year doesn't count towards eligibility, are they going to double everybody's scholarship? Because you're still going to have people come in next year. So then are you going to leave it up to the coaches on who they want to keep and who they push out the door?
Well, you're talking about scholarship numbers. I don't think they would have to be doubled because that would be the entire 4 years of classes. I think you would have to take roughly about 20 more.
Right.
If that makes sense, something like that.
Yeah, true. Doubling is a bit much. Yeah, you're right. Because you wouldn't need 200 scholarships. But yeah, you may, or maybe they'll have you fill out just a waiver and give you however many you need for everybody who wants to come back. Who knows? I think
they had about 20 to 25 per season.
Right.
For the next 4 years. I think that would cover it. Something in that range. It differs on the team. All right. Jump in here at any point you've got anything to say about this paragraph of analysis from an opposing coach. So this is an anonymous opposing coach about Miami football last year. They really looked embarrassing at times last season. Losing to that Georgia Tech team is inexcusable. They're still super talented on defense because they're still Miami. I think Diaz got caught trying to be too smart at times. Like with those athletes, why are you overthinking this thing? Just go play man coverage. Go let them loose. They looked so bad in the bowl game on offense. They gave up and didn't care at all. You saw it on tape. That's a case of them not being as good as they think they are. The offensive line was embarrassing against Florida and then got worse because they didn't scheme to help themselves. By the time they got to conference play, you kept thinking they'd change things up to bail out the line. They didn't. De'Ara King is a freak show player, but he can't be the sole threat. If Lashley runs what he has at his previous places, they're going to get him killed without some help. They could be all over the place in the portal again this summer. The program needs to get serious about itself. They're out in recruiting talking about the swag. And, of course, this was said, obviously, before this summer. I think you're going to find out really fast if this regime is going to work out. They could end up a mess just like Florida State last season.
Mark, listen. Halfway through that, I was with you. But eventually get to a point where the hatred for or disrespect towards Miami spews out of a lot of coaches' mouths. And I get it, man. The 80s was a time that Miami was out there doing things that a lot of people didn't like. And a lot of those people are still alive. And either they were young kids back then, and you either loved or you hated that Miami. And, you know, there's people who, there's a way you're supposed to play the game and show up in a suit every day, and line up in line and do what I say do. And that's how you play football. Team before everybody else. There's people who think like that. And there's people who understand that Miami was being coached by one of the best coaches. And over that decade, over a really good amount of coaches who just let the young men go out there and play, and they were able to keep them in line with discipline, and it was our way of thinking. So I don't know who that anonymous coach is. I think he made some valid points, but I believe towards the end you start to feel a bias come out of whatever he was and is, whatever his loyalty is. But he did make a point about it could be as bad as what happened in Tallahassee with Art Browse. They had a lot of hype when they had a modern spread, up-tempo offense come and mix with the athletes that they had already had. The issue with that and the difference between the two, Mark, that I will say here, when it came to Tallahassee, Jimbo Fisher had a way of, he recruited towards that pro style. So you had those big, girthy, wide offensive linemen. You had a big QB. You had a really good running back. And you were supposed to just line up and play football. Now, he did play some pistol and some shotgun because pro style doesn't just mean 100% under center. I think people get that mixed up a lot. But pro style meaning there's pro stylistic scheming in there as far as the route tree and how you go through your what is it called, Mark? I just went blank.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading also.
Okay. Got your first option, your second option, your check down. What's that called? Just went blank.
Your progression?
Progression. There we go at QB. My bad. So you go through your progression at QB. You know, what are your type of calls on the offensive lineman? Is it up to the center, or is he just the guy that runs up and snaps the ball and the QB calls everything? You know, there's different ways that they have it attached. And Coach Fisher ran a different type of scheme, and he also recruited to that scheme. So that's why it was such a big mix-up, because you got these big 6'5" offensive linemen who are 320, 330 plus, and you expected them to go up tempo and run up and down the field. That didn't mix well. So that's why they had their issues. I think we only have one offensive lineman over 330, and that's Devon Donaldson, who wasn't even playing this year. So as far as that goes, like I said, everybody has everything they want to say about the swag and bringing the swag back. And I understand Miami Hurricanes fans can get under a lot of people's skin. But once anonymous coaches and people start talking like that, I know that they have a historic hatred and bias towards Miami. So whatever else they say after that just kind of goes out the window.
Jordan, thank you so much for the positive comments here today. So Jordan letting us know that he loves the channel. He's here all the time. He came to this channel to trash talk Ohio State before the Fiesta Bowl last year against Clemson and stuck around. We appreciate that. Boyo, they're watching us in Germany. Wholesome one. Got Boyo in Hamburg says he's watching us from Germany. Terry Wilson, quick question about the AP poll and wondering why teams that aren't going to be playing this season are in the preseason poll. Well, it was announced that basically what is going to happen is, if you think about it, and it makes sense, that nobody's played a game, so they're going to rate the teams that they would have rated, and they came out with the AP poll, so it includes the Big Ten and the Pac-12. But once everybody plays one game, they're removing all teams that are not playing out of the AP poll. So they're giving us their preseason poll. Then hopefully we never have to live through another season like this where we're worried about what teams are going to play, when they're going to play, no non-conference games to speak of. But hopefully we get the 10 to 11 games in for the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12, and maybe the Big 10 makes a late rush here. We'll see, and we'll put together some semblance of a football season that makes sense and determines a championship. That's what we're all looking for and hoping for.
Man, I tell you what, thank God I was raised in the region I was raised in South Florida, and everyone in that area is playing, because, man, I would be fuming if I was in the Pac-12 or Big Ten. Yeah. But geographically right now I'm in, like, Big Ten area, in Fargo, North Dakota, but not playing while everyone else is, oh, man, I would be hot. But, I mean, we're gonna see what happens, man. And, you start organizing, you get parents mixed in. And the weird part for me, Mark, is seeing people who have nothing to do with athletics making athletic decisions. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But, like I said,
I'm not going to go through the whole process of why I shot down the Big Ten's decision, because it's all over my channel, people. So look at the call-in shows, the videos, it's all over the place. But basically, if it was all about student athlete safety and health, absolutely. But you can't convince me that they're not safer playing football in the facilities away from the population. You can't convince me that something magically is going to happen starting to play in January in the North. There's a lot of things that you can't convince me of that aren't going to change in the next couple months. Why not give it a shot? And why the decision was made so early. Again, if you want my full rant, it's all over the place. So just check it out. Canes fan 352. Thank you so much for the Amazon link. So we got an Amazon link. Wholesome one. If you can just lock into this, if you're looking for another revenue stream, I'm telling you, and it's not doing anything for me right now because people aren't using it. But hey, you get yourself an Amazon link, because it's amazing the numbers I hear out there about how many people use Amazon. It's obvious, like 60% of the country shops Amazon. It's nuts. We appreciate. I wish I could say personally hi and thank you to everybody who comments in the live chat with just a hey, hello. We support you. We subscribe. We do all the good things that we keep pushing. But of course, we don't have time because we're talking football. So we are going to address anything else that's out there before we wrap up here. Is anything else on your mind? I'm not finding anything in the live chat.
Oh, you always know I'm ready to roll, Mark. As I'm sitting here in the research that's been going down with me and this team, man, Mark, it's hard not to get excited. It's hard not to watch the highlight tapes. It's hard not to, get the preview magazines and stuff like that. You know what, Mark? That's something I always wanted to say. I want you get to this point to come out with a MarkRogersTV magazine.
Oh, wholesome one. I'm way ahead of you. That's been, I've got a ultimate vision bucket list, of what this looks like, merchandise. And yes, I would love to write ebooks. There's so many topics in college football history, breaking down, playoff formats and doing all the things that I like to do that, yeah. And that would be one is releasing a college football preview, just hardcore for the smart fan, really deep dive. Yeah, that would be phenomenal.
That would be my thing for you. Somewhere I'm walking in CVS or Walmart and able to go down there. Let's see what Mark Rogers preview magazine. That would be amazing to be able to see get to that point, man. And hopefully the powers that be allow you, because there's some people, you get to certain statuses and they start blocking you off. So hopefully you get a chance to.
There you go.
Ascend to that level. But either way, there's a sense of comfort, but then there's also the point where, man, you get doubtful and you want to see it on the football field, because we've been doing a whole bunch of talking since February, when all of our stuff got canceled. And now 6 months later, we have a chance to get some play in here soon. And, to know that we didn't have a spring, there's a little bit of health as far as our players didn't get to run into each other and bash each other up. So some guys may be a little bit more healthy. But then on some of those positions where our starting 11 is pretty good. Starting 22 on both sides, 11 and 11, pretty good. It's the young men behind them that makes me a little nervous, man. You talk about cornerback. You got Al Blades Jr. and DJ Ivey, the only two with any really form of experience. Christian Williams to Corey Couch haven't really played that much. I think both of them have under 100 total snaps to their name, And then you also talk about safety. It's a position where I'm super excited. But then behind Gervin Hall, Amari Carter, and Bubba Bolden, you got 4 true freshmen, and one of them isn't even playing this year in Avonte Williams. So if this was the 80s, like you say, and the top 11 played 100% of the snaps, then we'd probably be pretty good. But either way, there's going to be bumps, there's going to be bruises, there's going to be people who are going to have to come in, there's going to be situational players as far as third and long defensive players or third and long offensive players or short yardage players. And I just want to see what they're going to do, man, because there's a lot of talent on this team. There's a lot of ability. There's a new scheme. There's a quality staff for the first time in a while. As a whole, from beginning all the way down to QCGA level, you can't help but get excited. The only thing you don't want to get is too amped, and now you start penciling in 11 wins for no reason. So we gotta watch that as a fan base. And UAB plays a game next week before we play a game, so I have my eyes glued to the screen. Probably watch that game about 4 or 5 times before I'm done with I'll probably get a whole new notebook ready, scouting the young men that play for UAB, because like I said, Mark, they ain't coming to just show their talents against a Power 5 team. They're not coming just to have film against the Miami Hurricanes. They're coming down because they truly believe that they can win this game.
Yeah, I was just checking that out last night. So we've got a September 3rd game. That's a Thursday night, 8 o'clock game. UAB's hosting Central Arkansas. So based on the competition, there's certain things as a football fan, analyst, you need to understand that you can't tell based on the competition, but a lot of other things that you can, regardless of who else is on the field. Got the Wholesome One lined up right here. You got to check out his YouTube channel, Wholesome One Holloway, HOLSUM, and the number 1. Like, comment, share the videos out on social media. Please subscribe right here and over there as well. And we'll be back with Cam Underwood State of the U tomorrow at 11 a.m. So you get more Miami football talk. My goodness, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday with Cam Underwood. I'll be back in just a few minutes talking Ohio State football in the Big Ten and all that debacle and mess that's going on, and we'll try to sort through it with the very best in Ohio State football talk at 1 o'clock Eastern time right here. Wholesome One, it's always appreciated. We'll lock in on the Miami UAB matchup here next week.
Go Canes. Appreciate you, Mark. Hey, y'all swing on over to the Wholesome One Holloway channel and swing out to H1H Gaming if you love NCAA college football. God bless you. Go Canes.